We're going to begin, though, with two names that I want you to pay attention to in this story about the disaster that is the Iowa caucus. Here are the words: acronym. That's the company that funded the company that designed the app. The other word: shadow. That's the company that designed the app. Now the name: Michelle, as in Greenstein, as in the reporter who has been breaking news on this story throughout the week, here on the News with Rick Sanchez.
Shadow Inc.'s registered address is 1342 Florida Avenue, so we went there to find a WeWork office in an alley.
So this is it. This is the registered address of the company contracted by the Iowa Democratic Party to legitimize the results of the United States democratic process.
The company was given about $63,000 in 2019 to build an app to record and report the results of the Iowa caucus. But the app supposedly malfunctioned, and the Democratic Party in Iowa couldn't declare a winner. Shadow CEO Gerard Nemira would later tell Bloomberg that the problem was caused by a bug in the code that transmits results into the state party's data warehouse. Yet, despite this delay, Pete Buttigieg declared himself victorious, a claim that at that point had no basis in any real figures. It's a move that's raised questions about the connections between Shadow Inc. and the Buttigieg campaign. After all, a Buttigieg fundraiser even assumed victory in Iowa as far back as December and suggested donors get on his radar now if they want any influence. According to the FEC, the Buttigieg campaign gave $42,500 to Shadow over the past year. And Acronym, a company that also lists the 1342 address as its headquarters, claimed to launch Shadow in 2019 and has a CEO married to a senior Buttigieg advisor. Additionally, the former senior director of organizing at Acronym is the current national organizing director for the Buttigieg campaign. As a nonprofit, Acronym isn't required to disclose its donors. But in 2018, Acronym CEO credited a man named Reid Hoffman for investing in her vision. According to the Gray Zone, Hoffman had just been exposed for funding a covert disinformation campaign consisting of false flag tactics that aim to depress voter turnout. Now, Acronym has a super PAC called Pacronym. Its largest donor is the National Democratic Redistricting Committee, funded in part by Donald Sussman, who is a top donor to Hillary Clinton in 2016 and himself donated $1 million to Pacronym. Another major funder of Pacronym is Seth Klarman, who's contributed directly to the Buttigieg campaign. So was the use of the Shadow app an attempt to deny Sanders the momentum of winning Iowa? Was the entire Iowa caucus debacle another false flag tactic aiming to depress voter turnout? Or was it just the first step in something the U.S. intelligence community has actually been running simulations for, a failed election? After all, Buttigieg has some curious ties to the military intelligence complex himself. He worked at Cohen Group, a strategic consulting firm that hosts two former secretaries of defense. Then he worked at McKinsey & Co., one of the largest corporate intelligence firms on Earth, while training to be a naval intelligence officer. He's also received several public endorsements from people who spent time at high levels in the CIA. Whatever the intended outcome of the Shadow Inc. catastrophe, we can be sure of its actual outcome. Trust in the United States election system has been undermined. For the News with Rick Sanchez, Michelle Greenstein.